This video explains how you can use Babel. So Babel is a transpiler. The meaning of transpiler is that it transforms the JavaScript code from one version to another. So reason why I want to do is that there have been a lot of revisions of JavaScript since 2015. Like each year they are coming up with new features, new syntax, etc. Like the latest version is 2019, and then next version that is coming is JavaScript Next. So there are a lot of features that are being added in the JavaScript, but the problem is that older browsers can't understand these new features, and that's why what we want to do is we want to transform the code that is written in the latest versions of Java, for example JavaScript, for example ES 2015, or the JavaScript that was released in 2015. If you want to use the new features, you can use that in your JavaScript code, but older browsers will not understand that code. So what you have to do is you have to use Babel that will transform that newer syntax into a JavaScript, plain JavaScript that browsers can understand. For example, in 2015 edition of JavaScript, they added arrow functions, but older browsers would not understand that arrow functions, and that's why Babel will take the latest source code and then transform that source code into another JavaScript file which will be compatible with older versions of browsers. Now I'm gonna demonstrate this thing in Visual Studio Code. So for example, here is one JavaScript code where I'm using this flat arrow function. Now this function or this syntax was added in 2015, but if I want to execute this code in, say, Internet Explorer 11 or older versions of Internet Explorer, this code will not be executed. It will throw errors. So what we have to do is we can use the Babel to transform this code, and to do that we have to use this syntax. We have to first of all install the dependencies for the Babel, and then once Babel is installed, you can use this syntax Babel. Then here you have to give the source file. So this is my source file time.js, which is under plain.js directory. So I'm giving that source directory where my JavaScript files are there, which I want to transform. And then here I'm giving the output directory, like where I want to keep the new file that is generated. So after execution of this command, what happens is this arrow function is replaced with the syntax that is compatible with older versions, like it will use the normal function. So what I'm going to do is in the lib directory I'm going to remove this one, and right now you can see there is nothing in lib directory. So after executing this command, what will happen is another file will be created in lib directory, and we will compare the output now. So you can see it says successfully compiled one file with Babel. So this is our original file containing this arrow function. Now let us go to the new file that is generated, and you can see here the arrow function is not available. So what has happened is that Babel has transformed or replaced that arrow syntax with the normal function, and this code can be executed in older versions of JavaScript. So that is the main purpose of Babel. And there is another concept called as polyfill. The purpose of polyfill is also same, like to make the JavaScript compatible with older versions. But the main difference between the process that I just showed you and the polyfill is that in here what is happening is the code is getting transformed from the latest syntax to the old syntax. But in polyfill what happens is the features or the API that is not supported by the older versions of browser is actually emulated using polyfills, or there are some custom libraries that they've written which you can use to emulate the new features. So that is the difference between polyfill and then this approach to transform the files. Thanks for watching this video.